Session 28, 20th November 2022. Session 28, 20th November 2022. The exegesis of Quran summarized by ex-Brigadier Mustansabullah. We continue with the series, and we are the fifth surah of Surah Al-Fatiha, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. We continue with it. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Give us the right path. Give us the right path. Now, Surah Baqarah, second surah, verse 279. فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُءُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ لَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ. Translation: And then if you don't give up riba, usury, interest, then you have initiated a war that you can never win. And then if you don't give up riba, usury, interest, then you have initiated a war that you can never win. Get prepared to fight Allah and His Prophet. Get prepared to fight Allah and His Prophet. And if you don't demur, show objection, and are repentant, seek Allah's forgiveness. So, the original amount that you lent is for you. You can have it back. Neither should you commit excess on anyone or anyone on you. Surah 30 Ar-Rum, verse 39. وَمَا آتِيتُم مِّن رَّبٍّ يَرْبُو فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ فَلَا يَرْبُو عِندَ اللَّهِ وَمَا آتِيتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. And if you want to flourish, succeed, assist those who are endeavoring in the way of Allah. And if you want to flourish, succeed, assist those who are endeavoring in the way of Allah. And it will also enhance all the blessings that you have. And don't be a gala, a fool, for the deals that you make with any type of interest to enhance your wealth. Properties doesn't actually increase with Allah. Whereas whatever you give in zakah, compulsory charity in the way of Allah, and otherwise over and above to earn the pleasure of Allah, such are the people who in the ordinary way skim over all difficulties, do others and themselves a great power of good, and the ones who agglomerate add intensely to their wealth here and the reward hereafter. Apart from its exploitative role at the individual, national, and international levels, many great economists have today backtracked, reversed their opinion about the necessity of interest, and have considered it the root of the most of the ills in our economies, and have considered it the root of most of the ills in our economies, like fluctuations, inflations, deflations, unpredictability, etc. However, man doesn't think of capitalism without a banking system, and running national economies without banks. Man doesn't think about it without Howard doesn't think of capitalism without a banking system and running national economies without banks. He has therefore elected to live in endemic perpetual misery because of the system he has himself created. He has therefore elected to live in endemic perpetual misery because of the system he has himself created. Mankind has subjugated itself to a yoke of its own choking, which is also considered indispensable. Mankind has subjugated itself to a yoke of its own choking, which is also considered indispensable. Marxism, socialism, communism all failed to ameliorate the misery of the mankind. Though the bulk of the mankind remains ill disposed, adherence to divine guidance, the Quran, with exactitude is indispensable. Though the bulk of the mankind remains ill disposed, adherence to divine guidance, the Quran, with exactitude is indispensable. The Quran doesn't ask the man to eliminate classes, but the exploitation of other human beings, people, and societies. The Quran doesn't ask the man to eliminate classes, but the exploitation of other human beings, people, and societies, and narrowing the gap through various measures. Elimination of interest, circulation of capital, for example, through zakah, and voluntary alms, prevention of monopoly and holding, and unlimited profiteering, holding, hoarding, and unlimited profiteering, misuse, abuse of property, avoidance of unnecessary spending, adherence to the law of inheritance, fulfillment of necessary obligations towards relatives, neighbors, orphans, poor, needy, downtrodden, and a righteous attitude towards fellow beings are necessary obligations. Are necessary obligations. Al Tariq, Surah 86, verse 13. Innahu laqawlun fasl. Definitely, this word of Allah is absolute, the last, final, decisive, in establishing the right and wrong till the doomsday. Definitely, translation in Innahu laqawlul fasl. Definitely, the word of Allah is absolute, the last, final, decisive in establishing the right and wrong till the doomsday. It delineates, divides the right and wrong without any twists or winding explanations or elaborations for the justification of odd, clumsy concepts, without leaving the slightest ambiguity, without leaving the slightest ambiguity. The Quran establishes, lays down, demarcates the value system for the mankind till the doomsday, leaving no loopholes, leaving no loopholes. The good and the evil can never reinforce. They always substitute each other. The good and the evil never reinforce, always substitute each other. Monotheism and secularism are each other's antitheses, opposites. The injunctions, directions of Quran can't be used to serve the ideals, purposes, modes, and systems structured on secularism, which is devoid of the concept of the life hereafter. Secularism, which is devoid of the concept of the life hereafter. I read the definition of secularism, a doctrine. The essence of secularism is that morality should be based solely on regard to the well being of mankind in the present life, to the well being of mankind in the present life, to the exclusion of all considerations drawn from belief in God or in a future state, to the exclusion of all considerations drawn from belief in God or in a future state. Cambridge Encyclopedia Britannica, 1951. All systems founded on secular principles would crumble, collapse if the directions of Quran are incorporated, introduced in them. But the disbelievers, the numbskulls say, the word of Allah is outdated. It can't work in the modern times. They want the book to be set aside from public life. It can't be set aside, for there's a law, code, under which they'll be tried, they'll be pulverized. It can't be set aside, for there's the law, code, under which they'll be they'll be tried, they'll be pulverized. Just wait a little, be patient, persevere, and remember Allah, for the remembrance of Allah helps in perseverance. For the remembrance of Allah helps in perseverance. The attributes of Rabb, the Creator, are the source of all strengths and power, emanating, originating from the one great ever existing mighty source in which all strength is embodied. Recitation of each attribute of Allah reinforces, strengthens that particular aspect, quality. He is the one who created the man and then made him organically strong, balanced, according to his requirements, role, and the environment of existence. He is the one who created the man and then made him organically strong, balanced, according to his requirements, role, and the environments of existence, not leaving him in shambles. Allah structured, shaped man to give him all necessary capabilities to exist in the designed environment and fulfill the aim, the purpose of his creation, and then guided him, educated him as to what that aim, purpose was, and the method, the way, the path to achieve it. Apart from arranging nourishment for the man, raised fodder for your domestic animals, and then causes it to decay. So has man to bloom to his acme of strength, and then grow old, enfeebled, vegetate, and die off. Surah 29 Al Ankabut, verse 2. حسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Translation: Is it thought by the people that they will be left alone? They'll go scot free? They'll be taken as believers and they'll scarper, escape, and not ditched, doomed simply by saying that we believe, not by simply saying, and they'll be taken as believers. They'll scarper, escape, and not ditched, doomed simply by saying that we believe that we believe that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. Muhammad is his prophet, and that they'll not be put to resounding, clear, and decisive test to verify the veracity, truth of their declaration is naive. Is Allah so naive? May the thought be cast. It is a declaration, forewarning by Allah, His own word, that the believers would have to face, suffer tribulations, hardships, miseries, persecutions at the individual and collective levels, and in the ordinary way at the hands of the disbelievers, sinful. For faithful believers don't harm others. Humbug, deceptive talk to win sympathy, support that is not supported by honest behavior may succeed only with human beings. Having believed, they will be streamed thereafter according to their deeds. Having believed, they will be streamed thereafter according to their deeds. Since thousands of years of recorded history, the time of Nuh, the onslaught of the disbelievers, persecution has perverted the lives of those who say we believe and ask, pursue, exhort, not force others to believe as well, who say we believe and ask, pursue, exhort, not force others to believe as well. Prophet Nuh now all by himself, all alone, only pleaded with people to believe in one and only Allah. For 900 years he was disgraced, humiliated, abused, and beaten up to an extent that he'll fall fainted. Prophet Hud came to the people of Ad and preached, asked people to be subservient, slaves of Allah only, to be subservient, slaves of Allah only, for there is none worthy of worship except Him, except Allah. He didn't fight, just ask them to see reason. He didn't fight, just ask them to see reason, but the disbelievers couldn't tolerate it. Prophet Hud had no people at all to force or fight them. They were petrified, furious, and gave him a similar treatment as the people of Nuh had. And the people of Samud were approached by one of them, Prophet Saleh, to be subservient, slaves to Allah, for there is none other worthy of worship but Him. There is no other sovereign who has created them from dust. There is no other sovereign who has created them from dust. The righteous Prophet Saleh just preached, advised, and yet smooth, like the people of Nuh and Ad, became aggressively ill disposed towards him and his fellow followers, disgraced the she camel, a gift from Allah, and manhandled Prophet Saleh and his few followers. Similarly, the history of mankind is an evidence that all prophets, Lut, Ibrahim, Musa, Moses, Prophet Jesus, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and their followers, companions, were perpetually humiliated, assaulted, punished, persecuted by the disbelievers, whereas the former had just believed in one and the only Allah and asked, persuaded the disbelievers to believe, see reason, see reason, and are persuaded the disbelievers to believe and see reason. Religious intolerance, aggression, terrorism, and war are the origination, creation of the disbelievers and not of the believers. Religious intolerance, aggression, terrorism, and war are the origination, creation of the disbelievers, not of the believers. Disbelievers are a means to establish the veracity, accuracy, truth of the faith of the believers, and also the veracity of the disbelief of the former. In a bedlam, confused state, some believers feel disinclined to lie on the bed they have made, to accept the disadvantages, problems resulting from their being believers in name only, and thus join the bandwagon of the disbelievers. Join the bandwagon of the disbelievers, cooperate, help them in fighting against their own brothers in faith, again fighting against the believers, their own brothers in faith. They become turncoats, renegades, resoundingly, clearly, and decisively, and shall be conjoined hereafter with the people they sided with in this world. When put to test, they became turncoats, renegades, resoundingly, clearly, and decisively, and shall be conjoined hereafter with the people they sided with in this world when put to test. That's the end of today. Please pray for me, ex Brigadier Mustansar Billah.